So we introduce your character, who is named Dexuru. They use they them pronouns. They are a Wanderborn Fawn. Wanderborn Fawn, and their class is Stalwart Guardian, which is kind of a protector barbarian type class, not directly barbarian, but started the session. You were leaving your hometown of Selgrin because of a negative interaction with somebody else on the town guard, which you were also part of. They are there was a new deputy guard, essentially like deputy guard captain, who we decided was trying to train in an unsafe way with you, like you were doing sword training and they were purposefully trying to hurt you, and when you reported them, you got written up for insubordination, and the guard captain, who does relatively like you, said, hey, you might just want to leave for a little bit because this guy is very good at driving people out of places he doesn't want them. This deputy guard is also the mayor's son of the town, so he has more power than he probably should. But yeah, at your guard captain's suggestion, you decided, okay, I'll leave town for a little bit. You wandered through the woods to the nearby town of Peakfall, so named because during a war a few generations ago, somebody blew the top of the mountain off, so the entire peak has kind of like tumbled into a slope on the side of the mountain. There, you met up with your friend Cassie, who is a furbolg. She was also a former guard in Selgrin, but left not for the same reason you did. She left much earlier just to find something better. Got bored of the small town life. You wandered around town a little bit. You met some of the townspeople. We met who sold your chainmail. If you'll notice, I did take that out of your inventory. I think you're up to about 5, 6 handfuls of gold now. You sold that because, for those who don't know, there was a feature in Daggerheart called Bare Bones, where it actually benefits you to not have the armor at this level. More scarecrows. Yeah, I was disappointed too. The scarecrows are a reference while you were journeying from Selgrin to Peakfall. You had to make camp for the night and decided to stuff your chainmail armor to get and like string it up by trees to create like a scarecrow to scare away any monsters that might be in the area. But we did help with the steel shortage. You did help the blacksmith you sold it to, as HS has just said, has been struggling because of materials disappearing. There are 2 mining camps outside of town, an eastern and a western mining camp, and they have both reported that ores and the occasional like piece of mining equipment has just disappeared. It's been happening the past few weeks. The first couple times they thought it was a fluke, but as we left off last time, there has now been a body discovered. So at the end of last session, I did roll up who was in the room. For those who don't know, I have an NPC generator that I love to use. Like, I'll spend half my prep time just rolling up NPCs. Here we go. You and Cassie had returned to the guard tower, and you found that there was a small goblin of indeterminate gender just absolutely ranting at the guard captain, who, I will say, is a clank. He's relatively tall. Cassie have introduced you to him. You might have mentioned him while you were traveling. His name is Striker 4. So he is the guard captain, and this little goblin is just yelling at him. You'll see that there's also a second goblin in the room. You're not entirely sure who they are. They're a little more femme-presenting. But as you walk in, the guard captain had just asked the screaming goblin to re-explain where they had found some body, apparently. I'm guessing you're gonna want to sit and listen to them for a minute before you do anything, but see this small goblin is going up. Definitely, yeah, okay. So I'm guessing you and Cassie enter the guard room just like the entryway, and you'll see there's quite a few people gathered. The 2 goblins, the guard captain, and a couple other guards are kind of gathered around the room. As you walk in, the goblin, what would she be saying? They'd be saying. They're ripping into the guards. If you'd done something earlier, this wouldn't have happened. We've been telling you about the shortages for weeks. And the guard captain will kind of look back. You'll see that they're also relatively indeterminate. They're a clank, so this one doesn't seem to really be preoccupied with presenting one way or the other. They're doing the like calm down motion, trying to get this goblin to tell them actual facts. And uh, as they try to explain, they're saying like, "Oh well, we told you, we were investigating this as theft. We had no proof that there was any foul play. The guards have been out looking. We've talked to your people." And the goblin just continues to scream and just kind of berate the guard. You'll see the second goblin is kind of putting a hand on the first one's shoulder, the more femme-presenting goblin, as though trying to calm them down, but they also appear quite shaken themselves. Would you like to say anything at this point, or would you like Striker to continue handling it? That is the guard captain, the clink. At this point, the one goblin is kind of degenerating into hysterics, like it's not even understandable words anymore. You'll see the femme goblin step forward, and she kind of starts to explain, "Yeah, we found this body outside the storehouse." Cassie would be better to enter a conversation. We are an outsider. Yeah. I think Cassie would definitely step forward and kind of be like, hey, what's going on? We decided she had a Valley Girl accent, right? So for those who are not familiar with Daggerheart, furbolgs canonically can have like pink and blue colored fur. So we decided Cassie is like pink, full on like girl boss, girly pop barbarian style. So she is large, very scary looking, bright pink, and has a Valley Girl accent. So she steps in, she goes, "Oh my gosh, what's going on, you guys? What is this argument about? Why are you yelling?" And that is when the female goblin will step forward, and she'll kind of start recounting the day. We were out walking the grounds, and we found one of the watchmen we had posted at the storehouse was dead, just on the ground, nothing around. We're obviously a little concerned. We've been trying to tell the guards for weeks that somebody's been stealing, and now it's escalated. We don't know, like, what are we supposed to do? Our people are upset. They're freaking out. They think there's some sort of monster out there, or somebody's out there killing other people. We need an answer to keep our people under control. Cassio kind of looked back to the guard captain. All these escalators here suddenly. Escalators? Oh, escalators, like people are escalating things? Not escalating. Is there anything you would like to say in response to that? Or would you like Cassie to continue being your front person? Cassie know these guys? I think she would. We'll see if she's been down there. Yeah, she would have been down there. She'll Cassie will start referring to them by name. She'll ask the female goblin. She'll go, "Det? Oh, like, what happened? Who was it? What'd you find?" And at this, Gil, who's the other goblin, they would have said their name at some point. Are they short on people? Why did they not post a city guard nearby if there were issues reported? You can ask that. Gil will kind of like, you've ever seen somebody who is definitely like going through a bad time, try to like explain something? That is Gil's current state of mind. They are the gender non-conforming presenting goblin, and they'll just kind of go, it was one of our guys, Gorit, one of the big guys. I don't know who took him down. I don't know why. Everybody's just kind of in a panic right now. We really need some help down here." short on people. So I'm guessing Cassie would have stepped back a little bit as Striker continues to try to like control the situation. As Cassie steps back, you can nudge her and be like, "What? Were there not guards down there? Obviously, there's been a lot of robberies and things like that." And she'll tell you, "Well, no, we've only got so many people. There's still patrols that need to be done here, and there's always dangers from the forest. We sent people down to talk to some of the miners, and like just nothing was coming up. We assumed it was a petty theft, or that they had lost it. Let's be honest, they store those ores in piles in those warehouses. I'm sure some of them tumble out, but this kind of changes things." So yeah, as Gil and Det start to get loud again, and see Striker as a clank, you'll see something almost by his voice box. Goblin's name was Gil. Yep, one was Gil. That is the one who is currently screaming, and then Det. Gil and Det. And from context clues, you will figure out that they're in some position of leadership down at the mining camps. Like I said, there's two of them. One on the east, one on the west. You're going to use one of the guard tower actions, which is assert leadership. I am going to spend a fear. Would you pull up the dagger? And Mr. You're gonna see Striker, some like almost like a flap kind of appears next to the voice box, and you're gonna hear just a large like shrieking noise that just drowns out everything else in the room. And it goes on for a second until everybody quiets down. And I will need you to roll a presence reaction roll, so this won't generate hope or fear. Bam! Show off the new dice tray I got. Look at that. Look at that dice tray. So we're gonna make a presence reaction roll to see how off kilter this gets you. That is literally the worst thing you can roll. Yeah, so you failed that, so you're gonna mark a stress as the shrieking noise silences everybody in the room. If you want, you can give me some flavor as to how you react poorly to this loud shrieking noise. We'll take a stress. Stress, I need to roll. My d20. We'll roll for this one because it's actually kind of important. That's going to be a fail. See that Dell also has. He's scared to kick him. Oh, that's like actually a threat. So Det fails. Fails. Not doing real good on it. Sure, see, maybe Cassie. We'll let I would give Cassie advantage on this one. Jesus. Cassie fails. So everybody in the room is now stressed as this loud shrieking noise has silenced them. Voluntary reaction. Yeah, maybe you like kind of shove at them a bit. Here we go. Boom. Turn my webcam back on. They record the sound of a fork scraping a plate and then play it louder. Oof. Gross. Gross, gross, gross. As the silence transition back, there we go. Boom. Yeah. As the shrieking noise kind of dies down, everybody is suddenly quiet and just staring at Striker. Striker's gonna be like, say, okay, now that I have everybody's attention, we need to make a plan. Sorry that you feel like the guards have failed you thus far, but you have my assurance that we will be fully investigating as much as we need. Right. We're just getting started. We're trying to sort out why there's a dead body in one of the mining camps. So, Striker's gonna ask which store. Do you know which storehouse it was that you found them in front of? And Gil will raise their hand, say it was in front of the eastern. Notes. Gil will raise her hand, say It was over by my camp, out in front of the Eastern Mining Camp, the main storehouse. It was kind of around the back. It must have happened sometime during the night because we've got people walking up and down there all day. Like, there's no way no one would have noticed. Wouldn't have noticed somebody getting murdered. Striker will hammer down like, hey, we don't know that there was any murder. You know, there are some wild animals in the woods and things like that. We shouldn't cause a panic by just jumping straight to that. Gil will not be very happy about that. Gil, at Striker suggesting that they're going to fully investigate, Gil's going to be like, you've been investigating for weeks and you haven't found anything. Like, how many more people are going to die before you manage to find something of actual note? We'll see. Let's see, how will Det react to that? Det's just going to continue to put her hand on Gil's shoulder as Gil starts to kind of get agitated and, like, gesticulate. Striker, I think one of the other guards in the room would say, well, obviously, should we, like, you'll hear mutterings like, should we go look? Like, that seems to be a starting place. Striker would be supportive of that. Yeah. Striker will say, we'll get some guards down there, but if there's anything you can tell us ahead of time, it will surely help this investigation go faster. I think probably wave over Cassie and sort of gesture like, yeah, we will get our people down there as quickly as we can. So Cassie nods, giving an indication that she will probably be going off to deal with this new situation. I think Shirley did it. You asked that? Is this an airplane moment? Don't call me Shirley. Comedy retract. I don't know. I mean, Dexuru, we're still defining their character. If you think they're the kind of person who would make smarmy comments like that, maybe just like nudging Cassie, like, why do they think Shirley did it? That's up to you to decide. I will say you're probably smart enough to not say that in front of a obviously distraught goblin. But you are free to ask them any questions if you want. Cassie is. She's gonna go off to. You're gonna see her walk off to a side room. She's likely getting weaponry, armor, anything she would need for like her shift for the day. I'm that sort of person. I don't think Dexuru, the former guard, would do that. They could. They could. I mean, depends on what kind of archetype you've got for Dexuru in your mind. The fun thing about TTRPGs, if you think that they would do that, then they would do that. So yeah, Cassie has gone off, presumably to get her gear. I think we said it was the start of the day. You were like accompanying Cassie to the guard tower for that reason. That's why you guys were going there. So she's gonna go off into a side room to go get her gear. Are there any questions you would like to ask ahead of time? They've told you what there's been a body found. Let's roll. Yes, an undercover operation. Yeah, from last time. That kind of tracks. Do you want to suggest that to Striker? Undercover operation. I think we could ask if they need any help since we don't have anything better to do, really. Yeah, I think you can offer that to Striker. He's already kind of assigned Cassie, and you can see he's starting to wave to like other people in the room to sort them out for the day. Kind of raise a hand. Do we think Dexuru is a little more timid or more outspoken? I've had this idea that Cassie is kind of a foil, where Cassie would maybe be the louder, more outspoken one. But if you think Dexuru is somebody who's very outgoing, that's absolutely fine. You think you're somebody who would like raise a hand or walk over and like tap Striker on the shoulder to offer your help? Ask these questions for flavor so you have a chance to define the character without me doing it for you. seem okay with Dexuru being more quiet. So yeah, you kind of walk over and you kind of respectfully raise a hand. You're like, you explain who you are. I think super outspoken, but as a former guard, they would show some initiative. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Might do that, but in a yeah, so kind of walking over like, hey, I'm here. Like, can I have a second? And do you tell them who you are? Or do you just go like, I can do that? My assumption would be that you would walk up and say, "Hey, I'm a friend of Cassie's. I used to work with her back in Selgren. I'm also a former city guard. Does Striker know them? Should we roll for it? Let's roll for it. I'll roll a d20. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a pretty high roll. Yeah, Striker's probably encountered you once or twice before because we've said that. I think we decided that some of the Selgren guards would have done training in Peakfall because it's a little bit bigger and they get more folks from the main capital city. So yeah, I think Striker will kind of do a double take. He hasn't seen you often, but enough that he kind of recognizes you. And be like, do I know you from somewhere? You'll go, yeah, I'm one of the Selgren guards. We've been down here a few times to train. He's like, oh, well, what are you doing here? You looking for work? You go, well, I'm here to help. I can help. You know, I've been hanging out with Cassie, and he'll be like, oh, great. You can go. He'll kind of wave you off because he's quite busy right now. He'll wave you off. Yeah, Cassie can tell you what needs to be done here. Like, I'm going to leave her in charge of some of that. We're right back into job interviews. That's too real. It's not really an interview. You're offering to help. I always figure in like a fantasy setting, it's totally reasonable that, especially in more rural areas, having like a standing militia versus an actual town guard would be more common. It's what's the Western term for it? Like a posse. You know, a bunch of townspeople who are capable of fighting and defending themselves can be useful when you have a situation on your hands. Um, in Striker's opinion, he'll, as he's waving you off, he'll be like, yeah, I'm sure it's some sort of animal, just, you know, be careful. Cassie will take good care of you if you're willing to help her out. Is there anything you want to ask the goblins? They've kind of. Gil seems distraught, but also, like, has calmed down a little bit now that there's some sort of action happening. You get the impression that they were very, very impatient, and that is back to kind of comforting them. They're sort of off to the side as the guards are getting arranged. If not, I will assume that you're gonna go follow Cassie in whatever room she went into. The victim. Did I not say the name? Yeah, you can ask him a little bit more about the victim. Uh, Gil, now that there is something happening, will tell you that it was one of the orcs who was part of the mining operation, a large male orc named Goran Velthorn. I'll put that in chat for you. Velthor. Velthor? Say Thorn or Thor? Velthor. And they will explain to you again that they're a really big, relatively healthy guy. They were, you know, well built for moving ores and things like that. Uh, let's see. Something you might pick up on here. So let's do a roll. I'm gonna do a instinct roll. Set the DC for. Boom. That's pretty good. That is with hope. You're max on hope. I'm pretty sure that's gonna make it. Oh yeah, that definitely makes it. You got. I didn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You got a 19 on the dice. Yeah, that'll be a success. As you're talking to Gil, will realize that a lot of this you get the impression that they're coming from a place of somebody who feels somewhat guilty, like this is one of her employees, that they will tell you that they had posted them as a guard because of all the thefts, and they thought maybe having somebody there because the guards were not really concerned with it, thinking it was just petty theft or things getting lost. So Gil had posted one of their own people there to kind of help keep watch, and there's a chance Gil might feel kind of guilty that resulted in their death. Like maybe they should have put more people out, and they will essentially tell you that like should have had more. But a big healthy arc. Yes, the goblins are. They will introduce themselves as well. Gil will tell you that they are the foreperson of the eastern mining camp, so the one where the body was found, and then there's a camp that's a little more on the western side of Peakfall. That is the forewoman of that. Coincidentally, they both rolled up goblins. Apparently, they're good mining for people. Big healthy orc. Totally an animal attack, yeah? Is that what we think? That definitely. Oh, we can make another roll. Let's see. Yeah. We'll give it a shot. Let's make this roll. We're gonna make a presence roll here to see what kind of details you can get out. God dang it, I forgot the cam again. Boom. And you can't see the dice. What'd you get? That is a 10 on your hope, and 4 on your fear. That's a really good roll, and that is more than enough. Excellent. So, with a presence roll, you're presenting yourself very calmly, I think. You're coming at this from a place of sympathy versus a like, well, what did you do? Or overly interrogating this poor goblin who's obviously distraught. They will, because of this, they're willing to tell you a little bit more about the state the body was found in, and I'm going to put a little bit of a trigger warning on this just because it's a little gory. Gil and Det will tell you that when the body was found, it didn't look like there were any bladed attacks. Part of the reason why Stryker is leaning towards animal attack is because there wasn't any sign of like a clean cut. It was very much. Gil will explain it. It's almost like a. You ever seen a worker like stick their hand in an acid vat by accident? A little bit more like that, but kind of like in patches and just I don't know. It just looked not quite right. Got our the doctor at the infirmary. We've got an on-site infirmary, and our doctor's looking at it because it's weird, but like dissolved flesh, kind of. Yeah. From like you'll see Gil kind of point to various parts of their body, like there was part of the face that was just kind of gone, and here and there. The parts that were under the armor seemed like they didn't get hit quite as bad, but armor, not armor, but like clothing. Guess I'm not entirely sure what a miner would wear. Age, but so yeah, there were pieces of exposed flesh that were looking really yucky, like they had been either torn away or somehow dissolved. And they did tell you we've got our doctor up at the infirmary looking at it, but he seemed a little freaked out when we brought the guy in. Like he wasn't entirely sure what he was looking at. I think he thought it was acid bath accident. I think that's a thing that could happen. There's some, there's some like metals you can treat with like an acid bath. I don't know mining applications if that would really apply, but conceivable that they would have things like that. Meet up with Cassie. Go talk to the doctor. Yep. Gil and Det will seem to be planning to stay here for a little bit to make sure the guards actually go out and help. Let's see. Tiny camps. Is there anything you want to do? Cassie's gonna walk back out of the side room she went into, and you'll see she's kind of donned like. What would she wear? Maybe like a chainmail. She'd probably have like a chainmail. She would have had that before any sort of shortages happened. Chainmail, and she's got this nice long sword. She's definitely like a dual hand weapon kind of wielder. I assume you tell her, oh hey, we were over talking to Stryker, and if you're okay with it, we're happy to come help you. She'll be like, oh yeah, metallic pink chainmail. what would it take to make pink chainmail? I wonder, there's probably some sort of fictional mineral we could come up with to do that. That would be great. I would love that. Let me do some research and we'll see if we can find a reason for chainmail to be pink. Yeah. Cassie, let's go. Is there anything you want before we leave? We can got the weapon sororums and stuff here. I don't know that you're gonna find much better than what you got, but you have some of that at your disposal. If there's like a mundane above table, if there's like something mundane that you want to grab, like they might be able to spare a potion or something. Otherwise, if there's nothing that you want, then we're heading down to the mining camp. Do you want to hit the eastern and the western one first? There are two. The infirmary would be probably sent like on the edge of one or the other, so kind of between the two. Yeah, it's an on-site infirmary specifically for the miners because there's mining accidents and things that happen. Ruth Mazur can visit Doctor first because they have more info because they're closer than the mining camp if we go explore there. They're about here. Now they would have explained this to you probably better than I did, so I'm glad you asked. There's the two mining camps, and they're relatively self-sufficient. Like, they come up from the city, and they set up their camps, and they do their stuff, and then it all gets torn down once the resources are depleted. Part of that is they've got, like, their own capacity for feeding people, and an on-site infirmary for sort of mining accident. They do that to make sure the operation is self-sufficient versus having to rely on, like, these small towns which may or may not have those resources, so they just send like all these things out as a unit. The body would have been taken to the infirmary. It's probably the closest thing they've got to a morgue. It is just a little ways outside of town. Perfect. Is there anything you want to do in town on your way out? I'm guessing not. Cassie's gonna be ready to go, especially with people being so distraught. How do you think Dexuru feels about situations like this? Are they somebody who's a little bit of an adrenaline junkie? Are they the kind of person who doesn't think about the danger when they think other people are in trouble? Are they a little bit apprehensive going into it? Do you think they're very, like, thoughtful about these sort of things? It's only session 2. I can ask you guys character building questions. Part of what makes it fun. You do not like people getting murdered. That's... I mean, I guess that's good to know. It's one of those things you kind of assume until the players tell you otherwise. Not a murder hobo. I guess I'm trying to get an idea of what sort of guard and just general person Dexuru is. Like, if there's somebody who would charge headfirst into danger, I will tell you, Cassie does not seem very bothered. Cassie is probably more on the adrenaline junkie side. What I mean is that some people go, oh, that's bad anyway. Anyways, Dexuru is not that, so maybe a strong sense of justice. That'd be good. Yeah, I think that would make sense. That might be part of the reason why I pronounce the name. Belgrin? Bellum. Good job. Bellum, the deputy guard captain who kind of shoved you out. That would probably be part of the reason he didn't like you. People with a really strong sense of justice that they stick to are a little harder to bully into things. Yeah, okay. You're probably being a little more cautious than Cassie is. Cassie's like, let's go get him. Let's go get him. We also are a lot more pissed about being shoved out that way than we let on. Imagine. Yeah. Alright, out to the mining camps. What's a good distance away? It'd be far enough away that, like, it's not disrupting the town, but it would be probably a little closer to the base of the actual mountain. As I said earlier, Peak Fall, it's so called because during a massive war a couple generations ago, like the tippy top of the mountain just got blasted off, so it's relatively flat. The town itself sits on a sort of plateau, and then it slopes down one side where all the like debris went down. And that's kind of popular for a mining site because there's a lot of stuff to sift through, and some of the deeper ores were blasted down the mountain. So yeah, definitely not more than like an hour's hike, I think. If you go down there, you'll see there's kind of a road coming down leading from Peak Fall, kind of out towards the main road that you would use to travel out. And then there's a couple like secondary roads, one going east, one going west. You'll see in the distance the mining encampments. We'll see which way the infirmary is. Oh, on the edge of the western camp, so not the one where the body was found, but on the very, very edge of the western camp, you'll see that there's there's a slightly bigger building. I assume you would have asked Gil and Det, or Cassie probably would have known that that would be the infirmary. It's the slightly bigger building kind of out there. So I assume you're going to peel off and go that way, or do you want to go to the eastern camp where the body was found? Western is where the infirmary is and you've been told the body currently is. Eastern is where it was actually found. It was one of the big storehouses. I'll give you that option. Otherwise, Cassie has an idea of where she's going, but she can be influenced by her bestie. Doctor a bit more time, they might have more answers. Hard to say, give the doctor more time to gather info. Yeah, and I'm not saying you have to do one or the other. If you want to like go check in with the doctor and then leave and go do stuff, or if you want to go do stuff and then check in, absolutely fine. If you want to screw off and forage in the woods for a while, Cassie would probably be mad at you, but you can do that too. Postpone the doctor crime scene first. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So you're going to the eastern camp. As you start that way, you're going to see there's a lot of people. The camp isn't as active as you would expect it to be right away in the morning. We check for any signs of struggle and stuff. Well, they're fresh. Perfect. They did tell you the body was found right away this morning, so whatever happened during the night sometime, probably. Gil had posted a watchman overnight, and that's who this orc was. They were one of the miners who had been Gil trusted enough to like actually sit and watch the ore relatively fresh. Yep. Ugh. Yeah, so as you're walking into the camp, you're gonna see people aren't really working so much today, which is understandable. You'll see a lot of people kind of huddled in groups, like whispering to each other, and every now and again they kind of like run to another group and like chit chat. I won't even make you roll for it. You can probably guess that they're talking about the fact a dead body was just found in their camp. Yeah, people will be worried. Yep. There's a few who are like going through the motions of doing work or like kind of fumbling with equipment, but they're mostly distracted talking with other people. See, there's a couple like you would assume more like senior leadership there, maybe like managerial types who are kind of trying to shoo people, but even they're like stopping and talking to each other. Yeah, you'll kind of go down. There's sort of a main road. It's kind of just a slightly larger dirt path, and you'll kind of follow along that. And Cassie would presumably know where the storehouse is. I think she probably would have been down here once or twice to talk to people about the thefts. She'll, wave you on. You'll go towards a slightly larger building. It's kind of what do we think a storehouse would look like? Part of me thinks maybe the doors would be semi-open to like allow carts through, and then there would be like piles of ore that get loaded onto carts eventually to be shipped back to the capital. So there's definitely like doors open, sort of like a barn, maybe big enough that a cart could pass through for loading and unloading. You get there, you're gonna see that there's a couple folks standing around, mostly attempting to shoo people away. it's not working well for him. There's a lot of people who are like coming out being looky-loos, walking around the building. But there are. Here, let's roll for these guys. We'll say that there are two people there standing, kind of directing traffic. We'll say it is a 7 female. I keep rolling female. I swear that this is balanced. It is a 45% chance for male or female, and it's like always been female. Depends if the ore is sensitive to the weather. It could also be a pile outside. Hard to steal a pile of dirt. Yeah, it's a temporary storehouse, so it might be more of a big reinforced tent. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. At most, it would be like kind of a cheaper wood thing, I think. Something to have, rain coverage. I don't think a lot of ore would be super sensitive, but you kind of understand why Stryker might have thought it was just stuff getting lost if it's just a pile out there. Alright, so we got a female. 7, that's common. We'll say they're from the city. Doing some interesting rolls earlier. Human. Female human standing there supervising. Occasionally somebody will get a little too close and she'll yell at them, and you'll see she's kind of like trying to let carts into the area, but also keeping them away from other spots. It would not be that hard to get into if somebody would put some effort in. Yeah. Well, and Peakfall isn't the only town here. There are smaller settlements around, and it's like people who steal copper wiring is the best way I can think of. Like that kind of petty theft where people are like, oh, they dug up all this ore, let's go take it. Somebody will buy it. Yep, there is somebody actively overseeing the storehouse right now if you want to go talk to them. Otherwise, you're free to walk around the building yourself. In fact, I think as you approach this woman would just raise her hand. Do we think she would recognize Cassie? See a hard time about it. Yeah, she would recognize that Cassie is a guard. She might not know her personally, but I think this everyone loves Cassie. Everyone does love Cassie. Cassie is a show stealer at this point. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, this human woman will kind of like raise a hand, seeing that Cassie's got probably a pretty standard like guard outfit on. And this woman will be like, "Hey, are you here to help with the stuff that happened this morning?" Like she doesn't want to say murder because that feels kind of cursed. Cassie is a shiny pink and hard to miss. She's got a sparkling personality too. Yeah, and I think at that point you and Cassie's gonna walk over to this woman who just called to her. She's gonna ask who she is, and this woman will introduce herself. Gonna introduce herself as like the manager on duty, essentially. Cassie's gonna be like, so I hear there was some activity here tonight. And the store person will kind of, do we think she's gonna be amenable to that kind of attitude? Yeah. We'll say she's got kind of a sense of humor. She'll kind of laugh and go, yeah, you could say that. And kind of gesture around like, I don't think we're gonna get anything done today until this is resolved. Cassie will kind of give her a sympathetic look like, oh yeah, I'm sure. Is there anything you can tell us? Can you show us where it was found? We're out here trying to look for some clues. And the manager on duty kind of nods. She'll wave somebody else over to kind of redirect the people who are walking about, and she'll start leading you around kind of to the side of the building, side towards the back. So it will be outside, just to be clear. It wasn't inside, it was outside. And as you get there, she's gonna say, yeah, I don't know if you're gonna find very much here. It's weird, there wasn't a lot of blood or anything. It just, I don't know, he looked like something tore chunks of his skin off. Pretty gross. And she'll lead you to the spot, and sure enough, there's no blood or anything. It's a little ways away from the wall. She'll kind of bring you to the exact spot that the body was found. It was, a good couple feet from the wall, but there's sign of like a little bit of a scuffle. You wanna what do you wanna do here? I will leave that up to you. I won't tell you what you do. Yeah, so he's gonna kinda kneel down, start looking in the dirt. What do you think? Is he gonna find anything interesting? Yeah, she'll point out, looks like there's some she'll kind of wave you over. She's like kneeling down. Like, yeah, it looks like there was a scuffle. It's weird that there wouldn't be a lot of blood. Even she's gonna kind of like take a dagger or something so she's not touching the biohazard. She's gonna kind of like scoop some of the dirt around. Like, I don't see any signs of blood here. That's kind of weird. But maybe he just got hit in the head or something. There wasn't a lot of blood. Is there anything you would like to look for? Would you like to? The dirt. There's the building next to it. A little further away, there's going to be just various tents that you would find in an encampment. Maybe residential tents will be a little further away, but you can kind of see them as you look over this like flat field. And then of course there's piles of dirt everywhere. Roll to see where the interesting stuff, if they were surprised by the attacker. Yeah, hence no blood, no stronger if they were bonked on the head or something. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, if you did enough damage, you could like concuss somebody really bad without making them bleed. All right, we're doing a instinct roll. I want to see if they're kind of like analyze the layout. Maybe would that be instinct or would we make that knowledge? Doesn't matter. They're both 0 for you. Or knowledge. Yeah, they're both going to be the same. So let me think. What would you find? The 14 with hope. Would you like to spend a hope and add anything to it? Town guard, like your investigative expertise? Yeah, I'd allow that if you want. So again, for those who are lurking or maybe haven't done this before, rules as written, Daggerheart, you're supposed to declare before the roll that you want to use one of your hope. It's a resources you have. You want to use a hope to add one of your experiences, which for Dexuru is that they are a former city guard and that they are an experienced mountaineer, being a faun who lives in the mountains. Because the balance is a little weird, being like a single player game, essentially, I'm a little more I don't mind allowing you to burn the hope afterwards, but before you know the result. So using experience, you burn the hope and you get to add 2, essentially. Sure, why not? You're gonna add 2. Okay, that brings it up to 16, and that takes one of your hopes. We will mark that. Look, we're not maxed on everything. Yeah, so is there anything specific you're looking for? That was a pretty good roll. You'll see the storage shed it's quite like oblong. You're kind of on the longer side of it. The shorter side would be where the big entrances are to allow like carts to come through. The residential tents, like I said, make me think distance, huh? It's a relatively flat field. I almost think of it like a fairground. It's kind of what I'm picturing in my mind. If you've ever been to like a county fair, that might be a very American experience. Yeah, like there's just this kind of a no man's land between the storehouse and they've got a path coming through it and then offset a little ways on the other side of the path. You can see there's some like residential tents, you would assume. There's people kind of milling about and it looks like there's little fires and stuff that people would use for cooking. You will notice that this is a very like visible area. Like you can look around and see pretty far in all the directions. Wasn't at the entrance because those can be closed off, somewhat secure. Yeah. And with the thefts, you can ask the manager in charge there if they open or close the doors at night, and she will tell you that they have been closing them and making sure they're closed because of all the thefts and stuff, which doesn't really seem to help, funny enough. Looking for clues could help us reconstruct the sequence of events or signs of acid or something that would dissolve meat. Signs of acid, okay. Yeah, as you Detective Dex on the case, yep, we're now investigating where this body was found. Been told that it did not look like they were cut by any sort of weapon. Definitely looks like skin or flesh was torn and or dissolved off. Oh, see. Footprints, do we think? I need to get a weather dice. We'll see what the weather was like. Yeah, it was maybe a couple clouds in the sky, but no rain or anything to wash it away. That body, or was it already looted? The body got moved to the infirmary. Jesus, Jeff. They're the body is currently in the western mining encampment because the infirmary is kind of on the edge of that one. That's where they took the body. There's a doctor there examining it, and then currently Dexuru and Cassie are on the eastern encampment, looking at, trying to look for some sort of clue and get a better idea of what happened. Yeah, as unfortunately, with it being this type of time of day and all the activity going around, there's a lot of footprints. So if that's something you were looking for, there's a lot of people who walk through. You will see most of it is on the path. There's a couple sets of footprints around the edge of the warehouse, and you would assume, yeah, I mean, you can ask the manager on duty there too. She would say, yeah, his proposed watch route, we were telling people to kind of like walk around every now and again to see if they saw anything weird. So you would see that that's probably what he was doing. The orc, when he was killed, he was probably out doing a round, essentially. What else would you find there? Tell you what. For world to see visible some things are. Okay. Yeah, as you look closer to the wall, you'll find that there's a slight discoloration on part of it. And if you follow down where this discoloration is, you'll find that there's a little bit of damp on the soil, like it looks kind of damp. I will allow you to decide if you're gonna investigate that or not. Probably not much else to find. They did try to close this area down, so people probably haven't been messing with it, but people have been walking and trying to like get a look. Any animal or creature that lives in the area that could attack with acid? Are we licking it? Are you licking the dirt? Where there was a dead body, I'm sure that would be fine. Zombie Dexuru arc when? You're free to look closer. All you know is that it looks kind of damp. Not sound safe. I think you're a coward, chat. Is there anything you want to do with that? Or you just kind of, as you look, the discoloration on the wall, it's kind of rounded. It's not uniform. It's almost as if somebody had like thrown something up against the wall. You could do wave Cassie, or she could poke it with her dagger. But it makes sense to smell it properly. Yeah, we'll say we'll use the dagger. You kind of wave to Cassie, and she comes over. Like, what's that? You maybe take the dagger from her and kind of like dig around in it a little bit. You'll see that it's mostly like just the top layer that's damp. The rest is like once you dig down a little bit, it's obviously just normal soil, but it makes sense to smell it. Yeah, maybe a slight like bitter smell to it. It's dirt. It smells like dirt. There's a slightest whiff of something else, but that would make sense since it's wet. Doesn't smell like watered dirt. Ever done any sort of gardening? There's kind of like a wet dirt smell. It similar but slightly different. Sample with. So, let me double check something. I don't think. No, but you are a Wanderborn. So you get your nomadic pack. But you can only do it once per session. Yeah. Let me read this for you. I've got all the cards in front of me so I don't forget. Wanderborn. Nomadic pack. Add a nomadic pack to your inventory, which you can see is in your inventory because I remembered to add it. Once per session, you can spend a hope to reach inside this pack and pull out a mundane item that's useful to your situation. Work with the GM to figure it out. So, yeah, a nomadic pack. If you would like to use it for the session, you can. You will spend a hope, and if you want to be like, oh, I want some glass vials, I'll probably roll like a d4 glass vials. That's pretty mundane. I think it was reasonable you would have something. Maybe like empty water flask. Is that what we want to do? I need to get like a hope icon. That way people can spam chat with hope. So I will roll a d4 to see how many vials you get. This seems like a shame to do that for just one. Not sure what it will do us though. Okay. Something to get this stuff into. So I think the thought is that you're going to take a sample of the dirt. Maybe, because you can tell there's like kind of an off smell to it. You are going to see a doctor after this, and there are people in town who could potentially help with that. Yes, the damp bit. Yeah, obviously. I didn't figure you were going like, I just want some dirt. A jar of dirt. Alright. Doesn't sound like we're super opposed to that. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Womp womp. I roll a d4. One. You've got one vial. We'll say it's a d4 plus 1, so I'll say you get 2 vials out of that, because you did use a resource to get it. 2 glass vials. Yeah, it is. And we'll say they've got like stoppers and stuff, so. How do you want to collect this dirt? Are you gonna take the vial and like scoop it with the dagger? You're gonna take the dagger and dump it in there? So here's the thing. You have a -1 to finesse. I'm gonna make you roll for it. Alright. With the dagger, we'll give you advantage because you used the dagger. So I'll roll a d6 on top of this. Oh yeah! Whoops. Okay. You actually rolled really, really well. That is with fear. Almost crit, actually. Yeah, I get a fear. Let's see, how do we want to... You do successfully get it without making a mess. I'll say the smell becomes a little bit stronger as you start disturbing the dirt, and maybe you gag a little bit, but I'll give that to you with that good of a roll. You almost maxed it. Even with the -1. I just thought it was funny. Character-wise, it makes sense. Like, how carefully are you focusing when you're somebody who's maybe not super dexterous, but I guess agility could do that. Nah. Finesse is right for that. Agility is more like you moving as a person. Finesse is more like small manipulation kind of things. So yes, you now have a jar of dirt. You have 1 glass vial and a vial of damp dirt. Writing that in chat so it's highlighted for me, so remember to add it to your inventory. If I was handling a potential meat dissolver, I would focus as well. Well, Well, this kind of tracks with what you were saying about Dexuru probably being a little bit more cautious and thoughtful in how they approach these things. I would say that would support that. Cassie definitely wouldn't have. She would have been like, alright, let's get some dirt. Alright. Is there anything else you would like to look at? Anybody, if you can think of somebody who you want to talk to, that's fair too. You've already met four-person and they've already kind of told you what they knew. The manager on duty currently already shown you. They were maybe, I think they were there when the body was picked up and moved, but they're gonna tell you that, I don't know, it just looked kind of messy. Sure, may as well ask around since we are here. You at least have asked if Goran had any conflicts with anybody that they. Ooh. Yeah, do we think there's gonna be a couple managerial types? Should we see if this one. Roll. See how well they knew them. Yeah, not super well. I think they would know maybe like who their supervisor is. It was probably a different supervisor, but they can definitely push you in that direction. They'll tell you, I don't know, I never really talked to the guy. He's a big guy. He moved a lot of stuff good. That's all I really cared about. Second hope, nomadic pack. You spend a hope for your nomadic pack. So you used one to add your experience earlier, and then you used the nomadic pack. Glad you asked, because sometimes I forget to mark things. Anyways. Yeah, you're free to wander around the camp. We can kind of skip over it unless you've got something very specific you want to ask. She would. Heck, maybe there's a chance. Maybe a chance that their supervisor's. No, he's not. He'll point you kind of off to whatever area Goran usually worked in, and if you want to ask the supervisor who they hung out with, you can. If you want to skip directly to talking to people who Goran might have known, we can kind of hand wave that. Something specific you want to ask. Assuming you want to ask the actual supervisor about conflicts, they will say. Probably just ask if people saw or heard something suspicious through the last night. That's. The supervisor will tell you that, as far as they're aware, Goran never really upset people, kind of kept to himself. Just normal, average, ordinary Joe Blow. Did his work well. That's all the supervisor cared about. Going to ask around. There are plenty of people to talk to. It's like I said, everybody is sort of around gossiping. How would they react to you walking around with the guard? Because they might know Cassie. They probably don't know you. I think they're going to be a little bit suspicious of this sudden newcomer in their midst, but if you let Cassie do the talking, you can probably overcome that pretty easily. Not a lot of people seem to have noticed anything. They will tell you that the first thing they noticed was the sudden uproar and activity in this morning, probably when the body was found. You'll have a couple people who tell you, oh yeah, I definitely heard X, Y, or Z, or you'll get the one or two people who are like, you should go talk to whoever because they kind of suck, and you get the feeling that maybe it's not a legitimate tip. Just people taking a chance to talk smack about other people they don't like. Mm-hmm. You're gonna run into a couple crazy conspiracy theories about Goran stealing ore and things like that. Rumors are flying in the camp. To tell you, yeah, maybe some racism. You will find a person or two who mentions, here they're like, well, sometimes we see animals out here at night. Some of them look pretty big, but nothing concrete. If there's anything specific you would like to look for, you ask. Otherwise, Like to continue looking around camp? Around camp, there is the storehouse. The infirmary is on the other side. I think the mess hall would be on the eastern side, just to kind of like balance that out. So where everybody goes to eat at night. Residential tents. There are residential tents on both sides. You can see from even when you're walking in. General residential area. And then a little bit more of a hike further away, there'll be the actual like mining camps. There's caves. Yeah, there's like caves and stuff that kind of connects into. There would definitely be caves under these mountains. Check out the spot on the wall on the inside of the storehouse. You absolutely can. Yeah, the manager on duty will you'll ask this, and the manager on duty will walk you around to the inside, kind of look and be like, I think this is about it. And on the inside, it's visible. The inside doesn't look too bad. Let's do this. We're gonna roll. Well, that was with hope, so you get a hope back, but you're not gonna see a lot. You will notice that even in the area this person pointed out, it doesn't seem like there's a lot. Definitely is heavier on the outside. See, no indication of damage on the inside. You know, even where outside there was a little bit of dampness, you're not even seeing that on the inside. Doesn't help that there's a lot of dirt. I think that's part of the reason why you're not really seeing much. There's even areas where they're not like storing things, there's just like a passive layer of dirt. And if you've ever worked in like a manufacturing environment, everything's covered in dust. Is there anything else in the storehouse you would like to look at? Like just from a generic look around, you'll see that there's kind of semi-sorted piles of ore, and towards the front there's some equipment and things like that. Nothing super fun. You're mostly looking at piles of dirt. Dirt and ores. You are under the wall. I will say the mark on the wall, like you said, it wasn't on the inside. The wall seems intact. Could be. You asked if something went missing. Andron Duty will be kind of roll her eyes at that and say, things have been going missing for weeks. We're not sure how. We thought maybe it was somebody in the camp, but with Gordon's death, I think people are starting to get scared. The spot on the wall was just a random splash. It was kind of like if water or something had been splashed against it. On that spot specifically compared to the day before. Well, should we see if it's a more open spot or if it's dirt so you can even see it? Yeah, no, it's a dirt pile. She's gonna kind of look over at it and be like, I mean, it looks about the same as it's been since the last time we cleaned it. Now you're maybe beginning to understand why the guards were like, how do you even know things are like properly going missing? Maybe go see the body now. Can't think of much else here. I think we should head doctor. Yeah, that seems to be the consensus. Right. You'll think the manager on duty for her time. She's gonna go back to trying to wrangle people and try to get some amount of work done. Best of luck to her. Yeah. You'll kind of walk back out. You'll see people are still in their groups, murmuring, and now that there's a guard about, their murmurings may be intensified a little bit more. You're hearing the word murder get thrown around. You go back out to the main path. Keep going. You're gonna walk. Luckily, the infirmary is right on the edge of the western camp. You can see there's similar activities happening there. Like there's a little bit more work being done, but people are still very much in a gossipy mood. You're gonna go to the infirmary. You're gonna walk in. I did roll up this doctor. Rolled up the first simia. So for those who are unfamiliar with Daggerheart, simias are basically like a monkey kind of ancestry. Probably related to simian. uh, yeah, as you walk in, you'll see there's kind of a flurry of activity. There's maybe a nurse who looks at you, kind of annoyed. The impression that maybe people have been like in and out all day and it's kind of disturbing their other patients. But you'll walk in and Cassie will introduce herself as a guard. Again, should we see if she's recognized? They know her well enough to know she's a guard. Her being bright pink probably helps. Yeah, one of the nurses will kind of wave back towards more of a backroom area. You'll see there's some of the I'm thinking like World War II era hospital beds where they've got like the dividers kind of out front. And then there's maybe like an office space in the back. Oh, the pink guard. Yeah, exactly. I should really give advantage for people recognizing Cassie because it's like, oh, it's the pink one. I like her style. Yeah. Cassie would I think I put extroverted down as a trait for Cassie, so she definitely is good at talking to people. Yeah. So they'll wave you towards the back and you'll find kind of an office area. There'll be would it be a full on door? Yeah, I think there would be a full on door because they're gonna have an area where they keep like medications and things. The door is open. Cassio kind of knock, knock, knock on it as she opens it. You will see that there is a table, kind of a makeshift morgue, maybe where they hold, because it's a mining operation, there's a lot of people, it's semi dangerous work. So they do need to have a place to hold bodies until they can ship them back to the capital. And you'll see there is a table with like a body shape on it, tarp over it, and there is a simia, a male simia, kind of walking around checking things. You can see him. Uh, what are you doing? Probably like bookkeeping, maybe at this point, like writing down some notes. Yeah, I think this simia, he's on the smaller side, probably because it makes sense for the type of work he does. He would be a city doctor. You would be able to kind of assume that because that's where a lot of these mining operations come from. They're sent out from the city. He's smaller. He's got smaller, very dexterous hands, and you assume that that's probably part of the reason he's here. He has to work on a wide variety of people, so having somebody who can just as easily sew stitches on a goblin as they can an orc is important. Um, yeah, he's currently sitting down at a desk writing notes. You can see he's kind of doing this a little bit. He's had a long day. He'll look up as Cassie walks in and be like, "Oh, hello. What can I do for you?" He's gonna his finesse is through the roof. Yeah, that's when I rolled Simia, I was like, well, that makes sense, right? And he's probably on the smaller side. Being a doctor in the Daggerheart world would be a nightmare because you have such a variety of species that you have to take care of, essentially. And they range from goblins and fairies, which can be 2 to 3 feet tall, to orcs and some of the bigger classes. But yes, Cassie will walk in and be like, "Hey, you got a moment?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, of course, of course. Are you with the guard?" Cassie would be like, yeah, yeah. I came down from the guard tower. I'm Cassie. We might have met once or twice." Kind of introduce herself and sort of explain what you two are doing here. We're here, kind of looking over. We're here investigating the murder that happened. The murder. You're investigating the body that was found last night. She wouldn't say murder because they don't know that it's actually a murder. And the Simio will kind of look towards the body on the table and be like, "Ah, yeah." Well, he'll get up, he'll walk around, and he'll kind of look at you two very squeamish. Do we think Dexuru squeamish at all? They are a former town guard, but how often do we think they found bodies and things like that? They probably had to deal with animals. I feel like in a small town, you're dealing more with town drunks sort of deals. Not really. They've seen some stuff during their traveling. Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Cassie be like, "Oh, no," and kind of look at you, and you'll shake your head. And at least I think they're somewhat used to it, and you have been warned, which I won't make you mark a stress since you were warned that it's probably not nice. Sure enough, as he gently pulls the tarp back, you will see that they're like, I'm gonna give a slight trigger warning, a little bit of gore. I kind of like my body horror, but if you're not in the mental state for that, feel free to pop off for a minute. Yeah, you see like immediately you'll see like a huge chunk of his face is just kind of gone. As the tarp comes down further, you can see like a chest and stuff. He does leave the tarp like up above the lower body, probably for dignity's sake. But yeah, just it circular kind of splotches all around the body, and as the doctor will point out to you, there is some amount of decay, which seems odd because the body was found last night. He will say as much. He'll kind of point like, yeah, it looks like it might be some sort of animal attack, just the way the flesh is ripped away, but I'm not really sure what to think about this. And he'll kind of gesture. He's got gloves on. Hey, yeah, it's medieval times, but he's following proper protocol. And he'll kind of like point to some of the edges. He's like, I'm not really sure, to be honest, what's happening here. Uh, you'll see that there are some circles. If you've ever had like a bug bite or something that looks like it might be infected, have you ever done the thing where you draw like a circle around it to see if the redness spreads further? You'll see that there's a couple circles like that around some of the marks on the body, and some of them have been eaten through. Like, eaten's the wrong term. Like, parts of those circles have been expanded past, like with the edge of the flesh. It will tell you it's almost like parts of it are decaying already, but it shouldn't be. You have any questions you want to ask them off the bat? Or they can start walking you through kind of injuries they see and some of their theories. Seen anything like that before? They'll go, well, we get the occasional acid bath accident. I, but that it tends to be more of like somebody fell in it and there's a whole body kind of element. Maybe if they were splashed, but that doesn't really match for where they were. He'll kind of point out the lines again. He's like, I don't know what to tell you about this. I've never seen this. It's like the body's decaying at an advanced rate. About the sample we collected then. Yep, you sure can. You're gonna hold up this vial, you're gonna say, well, we found it looks like there was some sort of liquid in the dirt. We collected a sample. Are you able to do anything with this? He'll kind of look. He'll take the vial. He's gonna pop it open. He's gonna drink it. I'm kidding. No. He's gonna open it, and curiously enough, you're gonna see him kind of like hold it and like sniff it a bit. Kind of looks thoughtful, puts the cap back on, hands it back to you. And he's gonna pull out a vial of his own. And he's gonna hold it up, and you're gonna see he's got this like vial of gray sludge. He's gonna pop the he's gonna pop the top off that, and kind of like sniff it and hold it out to you. He's like, does that smell the same to you? Are you gonna sniff it? Sure. Okay. Yep, you give it a whiff, and sure enough, it is definitely a much stronger smell than was in the dirt, but you do catch like similar whiffs. He kind of recaps the sludge. He goes, so I part of the body, like I noticed there was kind of this like mucus forming on the edges of these wounds. So I took and I cultivated some of it, and this is what I've got. Again, I don't really know what to tell you about this one. I haven't had a chance to see if it's like acidic, but it's like it's eating the flesh. Anything you want to say to that? I'll also tell you that it's like, I've already sent a sample off to the Scholars Guild. Um, they don't really seem familiar with it, but they offered to send it back to some of their contacts in the city. Gross violet sludge. I wanted to ask, so great that he already did that. If he had sent it anywhere? Yeah. He definitely, you can tell he's a little freaked out by it. Um, he's fine when he's talking about the acid stuff, because that's kind of an industrial accident that can happen. Um, but he seems very perturbed about this, like, hence decay, or he describes it as kind of a decay, like the body's being eaten away at a really fast rate, kind of around the edges of these wounds. You'll see that he is very careful handling this stuff because he's not entirely sure what it is. He will ask you, like, you weren't touching the dirt, were you? You'll be like, no, rolled really good on it. Well, infected by some flesh-eating bacteria, maybe? It could be a lot of things. This is a magical world. I'm sure it's fine. Just hit from the front with it, it seems. You can ask, alright. The doctor will, like, very carefully kind of like lift the body up a little bit, making sure not to like touch or mess with the wounds. He's being very cautious, but kind of like lift up and be like, yeah, there's not really much on the back. I think that would be an accurate assessment. Again, makes it different than the acid baths I've seen in my life. Whoever it was probably didn't sneak up on him. Maybe. You did notice while you were searching the area that it's a very like flat open area. It because it was nighttime, it's possible people that's probably why people didn't see anything, but if it had been during the day, it almost certainly would have been seen. The doctor will tell you that it probably wasn't like a blood loss or a blunt force trauma that he could see. It was more of a like maybe full body shock from having like all that skin kind of screwed up. You know, it's like people who get burned. They don't really bleed, but it wrecks the body enough that, you know, it can pretty easily kill somebody very quickly. Not deep wounds and torn off flesh, but just patches of burned skin. That now that you're seeing it, like you can see why they were describing it as that, because it does look like patches of skin were just like pulled away, and some of these look like they've started to get. The doctor will also tell you, like, because he's been watching the progress of it, he's like, it seems like some of them are getting deeper, like it's eating deeper into the skin. But yes, overall, it would look more like a pretty severe burn. Oh, bite marks then? Pull out an animal. It looks very like torn, but not. I'm trying to think how I want to describe this. You know, like if somebody gets cut with a blade or something, it tends to be very clean. Animals tend to like grab and tear. I don't think it would look like, it doesn't look like entire chunks of flesh were taken out. Just like that they were maybe burned off. Like there's no discrete bite marks. It does kind of like. I'm trying not to be super gross with this, but like it kind of slopes in, like it's more of a gentle slope, like where there are larger chunks taken off, like it kind of slopes in, not like an animal, or it would be like one chunk that got ripped off entirely, like acid was splashed on them. Yeah, like the doctor said, the closest I've seen to this is accidental acid bath. Yeah, I think acid is something that's used in mining operations, like to clean certain things. I mean, they would almost definitely have it for various purposes. So yeah, acid or a burn is the closest it looks like. The doctor will confirm that for you. He's seen acid splash, like accidental acid splashes, and he's like, it looks very similar to that. Burns can also look similar. Yeah, but I wouldn't keep eating flesh after the reaction is over. Acid, I don't think, once it's like off the skin, I don't think it's gonna eat terribly much more. And don't quote me on that. But I feel like once it hits and it kind of eats what it can, it sort of. Born was healthy beforehand. Very healthy. Um, the doctor will go over to his filing cabinet. He might have actually already had these out. He'll be like, yeah, I pulled Goran's records already. He's very healthy, like, very healthy young man. I don't. You probably had many years ahead of him. Anything else you would like to ask this doctor? Is there anything you would like to ask the doctor to do? He's already told you he sent some of the sludge off for analysis, but it is probably going to take some time. The Scholars Guild, the local Scholars Guild, which deals in like magical items, didn't really seem familiar with it. They would have sent it off to like more of a biology type specialist. If there's information you would like to try and find, I'll also say like above table what it is you're trying to find, and I can tell you maybe where you would go look. Say contacts the guard ASAP if you hear something back. Good, good, good. You tell him, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, Striker is." Like I think you would have been the first one there. So get, but we'll be sure to include Striker and just you guys on anything we hear. Yep, let's convene with Cassie for a moment. What would you like to ask Cassie? So if that is an animal attack, it's not an animal I ever heard of. Cassie will kind of shrug, be like, "Yeah, I mean, sure, there's all sorts of weird things out there. Maybe the miasma got up here. Could you imagine?" You would know for a fact that there are all sorts of weird horror stories about people affected by miasma or animals affected by miasma, but I did hear something earlier in town about mushrooms being unnaturally. You'll tell her that, be like, when I was walking around town earlier, there was some of the foragers were talking about mushrooms turning into goo and stuff like that. You kind of a coincidence, don't you think? So kind of raise an eyebrow, like, explains why they haven't had my favorite mushrooms lately. Fungus, yeah. Are you stepping outside of the hospital before you say this, or are you gonna include the doctor in on some of this discussion? The doctor can hear that one. Yeah, I think it would be reasonable that as soon as you saw it, it would trigger that in your brain. Smell the mushroom goo to see if it matches. Well, you're not sure what it was. You just know the foragers have been saying like some of the mushroom patches they used to frequent, they're finding like gross goop. Yeah, the doctor will kind of raise an eyebrow at that too, or he'll straight up admit like if it's related, it's something well outside my specialty. Um, hopefully, the capital has something for us soon. You're welcome to go looking for mushroom group if you would like. Cassie. Would Cassie know any of the foragers? She's been here a while. Yeah, maybe. She would know a shopkeeper who knows a guy, maybe, if that's what you wanted to do. Foragers will know her. Yeah, everybody knows Cassie. We're gonna get like later games where we play NPCs on the opposite side of the world, and they'll be like, "Ah, yes, Cassie, the pink furbolg." Yep, if that's an option. If there's anything else you want to say to the doctor, you're free to do so. You can look around the western mining camp if you want, but that didn't seem too worried about anything going on. How about the miasma, by the way? Is it a tangible material, a liquid, or an influence material? Like radiation. Like radiation. I that's kind of like the gimmick of this world. That a few generations ago, I need to work out exact timelines because all these ancestries live different amounts of time. But yes, there would have been some sort of giant magical war, and this would it basically like a thermonuclear war would have happened, the equivalent of a magical thermonuclear war. And there was large parts of the world that were just rendered uninhabitable, as there was this like radical type magic that kind of floats around in a manner similar to radiation. Part of the reason Dexuru doesn't encounter it very often is because they live in the mountains, and the mountains have a lot of this unobtainium material or whatever. I need to work that out too. Stuff that like binds to it and kind of keeps it from floating around the air, so it kind of neutralizes it a bit. The mountains have a fair bit of those materials. That's part of what the mining camp is here for. Do you have any other immediate leads? So go find the forager, take us to the mushrooms. Hope those both didn't actually touch it. That would be bad, wouldn't it? Going back into town? Always stopping and checking with Striker too. Still one vial. Yes, you do have a empty vial. You have one vial. Do you give the doctor the vial of dirt, or do you want to hold on to that? We're dealing with maybe something potentially influenced by the miasma, not the miasma itself. Sure, it wasn't like some infectious goo. Well, those things are not not necessarily related. Yeah, you would know that the miasma occasionally floats around in the mountains, but it not in the area you're at usually. You would probably know about living in this world, yeah. You would be familiar with stories of the miasma. Like I said, the mountains are a little bit better protected. The region of the world you're in, there's like a big mountain range, and then it kind of like comes up closer to the ocean, and the capital is kind of close to where the ocean meets the mountain range. And it is specifically built there because the mountain range was a ready like supplier of this material they needed to like re-inhabit and reclaim parts of the land. I think the Scholar Guild studying miasma would have recognized it as miasma, the ghoul as miasma itself. And to be clear, the miasma isn't necessarily like I picture it as behaving like radiation would after a nuclear bomb going off. Yeah, the Scholars Guild, that's part of their forte is studying magic and decontaminating sometimes. Or Striker, so he knows what we're going. You're gonna walk back into town. Take that, say, an hour hike probably. Would spend probably getting closer to noon. Probably would have spent the morning running around. You would have gotten started early in the morning. Perfect. You go back to the guard tower. We'll see that there's still kind of a flurry of activity. Peakfall is a decent sized town, but it's still small enough that anything like a murder becomes a huge deal. You'll see that there's a male orc in the guard tower when you get there, demanding some answers from Striker, and Striker seems very like if a Clyke could have a headache, he would have one. He's going to be pissed. See, this is what's fun about the random NPC generator, because sometimes you roll and like, oh, there are implications for that, aren't there? No, I mean, the people from in the mining camps, a lot of them come from the city. They go out and they do these. It's like, what do they call them? Those like fishermen who go to sea for a fair bit of time and then they come home and like they're usually paid pretty well. People do that, but for these mining operations. So they'll go out, they'll spend some time, and then they usually get paid pretty well and then come back to the city and set themselves up. Not all orcs know each other. Jeez. Jeez. I mean, yeah, the mayor's mad because there's been a murder. The mayor, the town elder, whatever makes sense for that. Yep, they're in there chatting as you walk in. Cassie will knock on the door as you walk up, and they'll both stop and they'll both look at you. Mayor will kind of look from Cassie, look to Striker, be like, I want some answers by the end of the day as he walks out of the room. Striker will kind of just. Cassie will ask, has it been like that all day? Striker will kind of. Please tell me you found something? Are you just gonna narrative dump on Stryker? You tell me you found something out? Or are you just gonna tell him everything you went across? Is there anything you're withholding from him? You did mention you wanted to tell him about the goo. The goo. You had overheard the foragers talking about it. Well, if it was an animal attack, it's no animal I've ever heard of. Cassio kind of nod. It's not really pretty. And we dump it all. You dump the sludge on his desk. I don't know if. Did you guys say you were keeping the vial of dirt? Were you gonna give that to the doctor, or were you gonna hold that onto that for now? Station cantrip, exactly. I couldn't think of the term. Yes, you're holding onto the dirt. Okay. So you tell Stryker all the things. You tell him you looked where the body was, and it was weird. There wasn't a lot of blood or anything. You went to the doctor, and yeah, the body is in a rough shape. You tell him that it looks more like an acid or a burn than an actual attack. Versus like a monster attack. We have two vials, right? Yep. So you've got one filled with dirt, and then you have an empty one. I don't think the doctor would have given you his vial of sludge, because what are you going to do with it? One was left with the doctor, one was less. The doctor had his own vial of sludge that he had like fermented from the body. There's got to be a better way to. It's like when people are trying to get bacteria to grow, so they take and they put it in like a little petri dish and give it the solution. He curated that. That's what the doctor has. He has sent off a sample already. You have the dirt, the damp dirt that you found under the weird patch near the storehouse. And the second one is empty. Yes, you do have a second empty one because I don't know. Use a nomadic pack. It felt maybe they only sell them in pairs. All right. Yes, we tell Stryker all this. You tell him about the goo. You tell him about the body behaving in a weird way. And he kind of raises an eyebrow at that, like, is it something dangerous? From your conversations with the doctor, even though you didn't explicitly ask, he probably would have told you it doesn't appear to be spreading, because people would have been touching the body to bring it to the infirmary. Like, their first thought would have been, oh, it was an animal attack, so they would have picked him up and moved him, but yeah, they will be now keeping an eye out for that. Tell about the goo. Then I assume you're going to mention that, hey, I was in the like the marketplace the other day, and some of the foragers are complaining that the mushrooms or something around here, they've been turned to kind of a goop. Darkle raised his eyebrow at that too, like, I'm sure that's fine. I'll ask if you know who it was, which you wouldn't because you're not really from around here. But Cassie will say, I mean, I know some of the merchants and they buy their mushrooms and stuff from them. They've been saying that lately some of the mushrooms just haven't been good and they haven't been finding them in the usual spots. It might be worth going to talk about. Stryker is definitely at the end of his rope. He's like, really got to figure out this murder or this body thing. Or perhaps try to add some organic material like a piece of leather to our vial. It maybe gets eaten, dissolved, or something similar to fresh skin. I mean, you can try that. Say you do that when you leave or whatever, just see if you can get something to like grow in it. I will give you, when you were talking with the doctor, like parts of the clothing would have been kind of. Would he have shown you his clothing? Yeah, probably. I think he would have mentioned, part of the reason it's so splotchy is that he had clothing on, so the clothing caught some of it. And you can see some of the clothing is like kind of burnt through a little bit. The way you would expect like acid or a fire. Yeah, you're free to do that. We don't know if it is still dangerous active even laying around for a bit. Clothing also still being eaten. Not that the doctor mentioned. I will say several people have directly touched the body at this point. I think Gil would still be around. Gil's probably running around. I'll give it. Give it a 50-50 shot if Gil's still around. Oh, God. Well, no, they're not. They have left. Are you going to bring this up as a concern? That it's being eaten away? Because presumably you told him about that. I think Striker, even without it, like, out if it is infectious, may be a good idea. Yeah, maybe. Striker definitely going to get a guard on it. I think after you leave, he's going to send somebody down there to check on the people and kind of quarantine them a little bit, which I'm sure Gil will be thrilled about. Anyways. Yep, so Striker will. You'll overhear him casting. He will basically tell you that he's going to send some guards down there to make sure it's not going to be a situation. Infectious, I would think the doctor would have been young quarantined. Yeah, the doctor's been working with it all day too. Is there anything else you would like to talk with Striker about? It sounded like folks were keen on going to the marketplace and seeing if they could find one of the foragers who's been complaining about their mushrooms. You're off again. Alright, zippity zorp. Striker will be like, I assume he would take some notes. Grab a donut on the way out? What is. Oh, you thinking like it's a cop shop? They've got donuts? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe Striker ordered some pizza for everybody. Should we see if he was that thoughtful? No. No, but I bet Cassie would have some in her pack if you asked. A little snacky snack. Hand you some bread. No pizza. No pizza party. Let's see. Cassie's gonna take you probably to the marketplace. Some of the vendor stalls. Some of the folks she knows who buys various forageables people might find. You see what kind of a merchant. You'll see a little goblin. What'll it be for you? That's just their voice now. Great. Yeah. As you walk up, hey, what'll it be for you? Cassio kind of wave like. Like Cassie do the talking here. Great. All the NPCs talking to each other. Yeah. What would be a fun name for this goblin? She calls it Nez. Nelly. Something with an N. We'll call him Nelly. That's really distinct. Not Nez. Not nice. Not nice. Okay, yeah, we'll go not Nez. Cassie will go, hey, Notness, how's it going? You got anything good today? And Notness will say, yeah, we got some fresh, I don't know, what's a forageable that people eat. You got some fresh berries and blah, 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 blah. Cassie will go, how's the mushrooms been lately? I've been dying to have some of those on salad? Question mark? Is that what people eat mushrooms for? Notness will be like, man, can't seem to find any good ones nowadays. Seems like all the foragers have overworked the spots you can usually find them. Cassie nods. Yeah, that's kind of what we wanted to ask about. We've heard that some of the mushrooms have kind of gone bad around here. You hear anything about that? Not an ask. Yeah, but the foragers always complain, right? You get some of the ones who are out there all the time, and their standards for vegetables they pull out of the dirt are pretty high. Oh, what would Cassie ask? Well, we kind of want to go check out some of these spots. We just want to make sure like there's not animals overeating or anything like that. Something that could be a problem for town. Do you know any of the foragers who might be familiar with that? Not Naz will skip forward. Not Naz will wave over somebody like, hey, get over here. Be like, yeah, this is the forager who I usually buy from. They haven't found anything in the past few days, but they can probably tell you the area they're looking. And they will. The forager will tell you the little patch west of town. They'll give you directions like, oh yeah, you follow the main path, and then after about half an hour, you're gonna see this big tree with a lightning strike through it, and you're gonna turn and blah blah blah, all that fun stuff. We'll say it's about an hour outside town. That just generally works. You're gonna ask. You're gonna ask. I assume you would ask if they've seen anything like goo, any of the goo. Kind of shrug. The goop, the goop, the great goopening. I mean, they wouldn't have the goop. But they would tell you that they a few weird patches. I just assumed like they had gotten wet and rotten. You know, you don't want those. But I mean, if you're that curious about it, yeah, it's off on the west side of town. You're gonna head off in that direction? Or do you want to chat around town some more? Think we had anything else? Asking them to go and get checked over by the doctor would be raising questions. Maybe. You also have to remember the doctor was specifically for the mining camp, so you would be telling them to go to probably like a local healer or whatever they've got who might not know what's going on. Panic. Maybe. Or they might just think you're rude. Is it Skyrim? Or if you're infected with anything, they'll be like, you look sick. Like every time you walk past. Yeah, let's skip that for now. They let out a little cough. Completely unrelated. Alright, so you're going to the forest. We're going to the western forest. Yeah, no. The directions and we go. Yeah, I assumed. You guys are both pretty experienced wandering around the mountain. I gave Cassie basically the same experience as you have. Current city guard, and I assume she would have trundled around the mountains with you a couple times. In fact, I had some character building questions I wanted. Yeah, well, you guys are out walking. You're walking this path. It's just you two. What do you think you're talking about? Tell me something about Cassie and Dexuru. Like, how did they meet, or how did they become friends? What was it that made them become friends with each other? How we'll pass the time on this walk. On a moral hunt, gonna find a big one. Hopefully. Ironically, finding the mushrooms would probably be worse than not finding mushrooms because you're looking for goop, the mushroom goop. Tell me a story, chat. How Dexuru and Cassie. Maybe from when they were young. They grew up together, so yeah. So I imagine there are some stories. Right, like a time they got in trouble. Who got them in trouble and what did they do? Got them out of trouble. For that lift, the lift that you encountered, for those who weren't here last time, as you were going from Selgren to Peakfall, part of what you tried to do was find an old mining lift that might go down like a few levels in the mountain. You failed that one. The lift, I think we decided the lift got stuck or just didn't work, but yeah, that lift, I'm assuming. Oh, we should have known it could get stuck. Yeah, it was an abandoned mine shaft. There's like it was gonna be iffy. They are the ones who broke it years ago and they just forgot. Then it was pretty new even. Maybe. That would totally be like a kid's story. You've both got the mountaineer experience, so you would have been pretty comfortable trundling around the mountains. Curious and went to check it out. Yeah. What happened when you checked it out? I assume it was relatively freshly abandoned. Played with it going down. See how far down it would go and going up. Like those kids who walk into an elevator and hit all the buttons and going down. Got stuck halfway. Oh no. You got stuck in the elevator. That's the kind of trouble you got into. How'd you get out of it? Do you think it was you or Cassie that suggested it? My impression at this point is that Cassie would maybe be the one getting you into a little bit more trouble, just being a little cheekier. Now captain of the guard. Are you referring to the one who doesn't like you? Have to save her. So again, for those who weren't here last time, Zurus Longfall, who is also a Furbolg, is the guard captain of Selgrin. So yes, he would be a little bit older than you. It's entirely reasonable that he would have been much younger. Yeah, maybe Cassie got hurt somehow. Maybe she like, had a hand or something get, like, caught in the not in the machinery, because that's kind of destructive, but maybe she got stuck somehow, like in a you ever see like the old minecart kind of things? There's like grates on the side. Maybe Cassie got like a foot stuck and you guys couldn't get it free without hurting her, so you had to like climb back up out of the elevator shaft, and you got help from Doris, who probably would have been the first guard you came across. I like that. She got stuck after the lift stop trying to fix it. Yeah. So I've also pictured Fawns and Furbolgs, there's not a huge height and weight difference, but I picture Dexuru as being a little bit like average height, and then Cassie as being bigger, because I think Furbolgs can be like 7 feet. So maybe you just weren't strong enough to lift her too, like if you had broken her leg to get her out. Yeah, Zurus and gang would have come and helped and got you out. Do you think you got in a lot of trouble for that? I'm framing this as you're like reminiscing about the good old days as you're walking towards this tree and stuff to try rooms. I love these flashback scenes. I do this to my home game players too. It's so much fun. Carry water to the guardhouse for 2 weeks. That's good. That feels fair. I like that. That's good. That's a cute story. Got back, we could not find the place again, looked for hours, and ever since started wearing bright pink so she doesn't get lost again. So I was picturing Cassie, because furbolgs can have pink, like, in the Daggerheart book, it describes them as like, oh, they can be kind of like any color fur, but some of them have like blue pastels and pink. So yeah, maybe like her fur got all dirty, so she was like, oh no, the thing that people usually use to find me didn't work. So now she's very big on pink because it's like hot pink, because it's a nice bright color. I like that. That's good. Silly little story. Fur simply hidden under the uniform. Could be that too. I mean, if you were playing in an abandoned mine shaft, it's entirely possible you got covered in dirt. From at that time. Nope. Like I said, this would have been when you were younger. Just trying to get a better idea of Dexuru and Cassie and honestly the area at large, because now I know we've established that there's abandoned mine shafts in the area. Oh. Is there any other stories you guys want to come up with, or do you want to skip forward to getting to the place the forager described? Let's get to the place. Okay. Alrighty. Yep. So as they described, you'll get there, you'll find a nice little clearing. There's what environment do mushrooms grow in? I feel like they grow kind of like on the gross damp places. You'll see there's some fallen trees and stuff, and on the underside, you'd probably see some of that vegetation. Are you just gonna go start looking? See if you can find this goop, or is there anything you wanted to do in this area first? It's a wooded area, like, there's, what do they call them, desire paths coming off the main path towards this little clearing, and the forager would have told you that, like, yeah, you can see where people have kind of walked back and forth a few times. There's a nice little mushroom patch there. Very generic forest, but first scout the perimeter a bit. Okay. Yeah, so it's not a huge clearing. You can definitely look around and see you're a little ways from the main path. I don't seem to see any suspicious goop monsters around. Like, you guys are paranoid. Um, yeah, if you're just scouting the perimeter, you're probably not look like I assume mushrooms grow like on the underside of a lot of things, but it's mostly just forest. It's a relatively quiet day. See how rainy it is. No, it's a string of nice sunny days apparently. Nothing super interesting to see around the perimeter. Occasional bird and stuff scuttles by. I'm gonna have you roll something here. It's fine, don't worry. Let's do instinct roll. A 17 with fear. Right. I think I'm maxed out on fear because we haven't really done anything crazy, but yeah. 17. You are going to find I think you're gonna mark a stress as a creature jumps on top of you. Not a big one. I'm gonna make you mark a stress. That'll be your fear element to that. See this squirrel. You see this squirrel fall on you. Yep, the squirrel falls on you. And it kind of like thunks and hits the ground, and you see Cassie's gonna mock us for that. Yeah, that's fair. You hear like a squelch as a squirrel falls on top of you, kind of smacks you in the face, and falls down. And you see that it's struggling to like get up and run away, and it is because its head is like shrunken. Like it's got like a really small head, like a weirdly small head. So much so that you're wondering how it's even alive. But eventually it kind of like scuttles up and runs off. Squeaker, squeak, squeaking. Have you seen his nut? Well, yeah, so a squirrel with a very misshapen head. Shrunken, misshapen. Kind of unusual, but think of that what you will. What in the mountain core name was that? As you go, it was a squirrel? Have you never seen those before, Dex? Oh, do we think Cassie would? Ooh, actually, Cassie would have seen it too. It's kind of a weird squirrel, but see its head. Did you not see its head? Cassie would be like, yeah, that's a little weird, right? I feel like we're seeing a lot of weird things today. I don't know, birth defect maybe? The squirrel scuttles off. You can try and chase it if you want, but you stomp them through underbrush, and if you're maybe not in the mood for that today. Alright, mushroom check. Mushroom check, general mushroom check to see how. And you're gonna find them. We'll just see. Let's roll. Roll a d4 to see how long it takes you to find. So after like 2 hours of scuttling around, you'll see that the forager was not wrong. It is getting very, like, it seems weirdly difficult that an area where there was a bunch of mushroom patch, you just can't find any. But you do eventually, maybe you like lift a log or something, you find a couple. They will be kind of what's a fun mushroom? I'm picturing like those white mushrooms. I don't know if those are edible or not, but we'll go with that visual. Yeah. So you see them, and upon closer inspection, you will see that there is like a dampness on the side of it. It's kind of like have you ever left food in your fridge too long? I feel like mushrooms get kind of soggy, like some vegetables just kind of that like soggy rot to them. So you will find that there are some kind of gross looking mushrooms when you do get to them. What would you like to do with these mushrooms? Smell it. Smell check. See if it matches our goo. Okay, are you gonna pick it up? Or are you gonna use the dagger again? Not with our hands. Are you... Okay, so tell me, do we think Dexuru... We chose they them pronouns for them. I didn't specify if they were more male or female presenting because I figured like some sort of gender non-conforming. Do we think Dexuru, because you have the bare bones ability, are they wearing clothes or are they doing full like just these guns are all I need kind of deal? Snort that jaff. Push-ups above the fungus. You could. You could. Your strength's pretty good. I would allow that. That'd be funny. Can't smell it on the ground? Yeah, you can do that. I was just asking if you were gonna pick it up. Yeah, okay. So you're gonna kneel down and smell it. Perfect. Yeah. It doesn't smell good. It smells very earthy, very like fungusy, but there's that hint of kind of like acidic rot that you did get from the dirt and from whatever sludge the doctor pulled out of that guy. It would make sense to take a sample. Again, you've got the second vial if you want, or you can put it in with the dirt. Ash, you were talking with Cassie about how it smells. Hear a bit of rustling off too from a little ways inside the vegetation. Cassie goes, "Oh, is our squirrel friend back?" Kind of looks over, and you guys will get a heads up as three green oozes crawl out. Like they're green, kind of mixed with this gray that you've been seeing. They kind of like eke out from under a nearby log. They turn and face you. They will give you an action to decide what you would like to do as these three sizable like balls of it's like they've absorbed some of the vegetation and are like if you ever had your dog walk through a wet patch of grass and it's like they're covered in it, but you see it's kind of got that greenish, grayish consistency. Think we use the second vial? Yeah, okay, I'll say you put some of the mushrooms in there. But yes, there are these weird slime things. They're friendly. I will give you an action to try and do something. Something we have never seen before. You saw it earlier today in the vial that the guy had. If you had to describe it, it's got that consistency, and in fact, as these things start crawling out, you're going to notice that the smell suddenly gets really strong. Back the hell off. You can try and run? They all are kind of coming out from the same side, so kind of out from like under logs, because there's a fair bit of like fallen trees and stuff. Are they fast? You don't know. You just see them like oozing out from under a log. Yes, they're oozing out from under a log. I mean, they're not really moving anywhere. You see they're kind of like slowly forming into this like congealed mass. You're asking like how quickly they're coming out from under, it's relatively slow. But we have our shield ready for any splashes. I would say so. I think being trained the way you are, I instinctively, unless you throw the shield or just don't have it on you for some reason, I'm assuming the first thing you do during combat is draw that shield because it gives you the extra armor slot. So unless you would like to not have the shield out, well, I think so. You would have been scooping into the vial. I think Cassie would have given you a heads up, like, "Do you hear that?" And you would have maybe like corked it, and then shoot, like drawn the shield pretty quick. Yeah, I'll allow it. We may observe for a bit from a safe distance. So you think you're gonna back off? I mean, you can definitely move. I think it's there's melee, very close range. I think you can move to close range without any issue. Like that's just considered a movement. You could back up about 30 feet, maybe back a little closer towards the main path. Sure, I'll allow that. So you're backing up towards the path. You kind of, I assume you're being sort of quiet like you would if you're not sure if an animal has seen you. You're waving like towards Cassie, like, to maybe step back a bit. Is there anything else you would like to do? Just watching. You're going to see them kind of congeal into some sort of orb. There are three of them now. You can see three distinct entities that are kind of the like gross greenish grayish thing, and the smell is kind of overwhelming at this point. You'll see they kind of start slowly like kind of moving around. They kind of like sort of spread out, gather around. They as they like move over the mushrooms that you're looking at, you can see the gross like damp parts, rotting parts of the mushrooms kind of expand. Like one of the slimes goes over it, and it like the whole mushroom just looks rotten at that point, like purely rotten. And it kind of they're kind of moving slowly around like they're looking for something. But they don't seem to have noticed you yet, as far as you can tell with them being slimes. Just how dangerous they are. If we know something of that sort may have killed a full-grown orc, yeah. The smell is pretty obvious. I don't think fawns are too terribly much smaller than orcs. I mean, Cassie would definitely be close in size. They're not really making a lot of noise. You just hear this like they scrounge around just for funsies. You're gonna see that squirrel come like waddling out again. One of the slimes is just gonna like almost like it doesn't even notice it. It's gonna kind of like roll over it. So you'll see one of its back legs, like as the slime barely touches it, this like nub starts to form off one of its legs, and as you kind of watch in horror, it starts to like grow almost into another leg. Like there's just the two normal legs, and then a third one has like sprouted off the side of the other one. Yep, they're currently kind of looking around. Lyra gets to feel that they really, really want to wash their face. That's fair. Yeah, with the goop you collected from the mushroom, right? Just, it's like a nice face mask. Yeah, they're still kind of, they're just kind of circling around. It's not really obvious. It's almost like they're looking for something, but they're having a hard time finding it. I will say, how long do you want to stand there and watch them? Let's say after a minute, you'll see one of them kind of like crosses the desire path that you would use to enter the clearing, and it kind of goes over it, stops, comes back over it, stops, circles back on it again, kind of sludges around a bit. And you see it's sort of like a dog sniffing, like that sort of action. It's kind of going back and forth towards you, kind of towards that path you just took. Not very fast, but it is now coming towards you. At least one of them is. The other two are still kind of sniffing around the clearing. Sure, we have proper equipment to safely fight it, so observe for a while and go report back what we found. Yeah. Are you gonna continue to back away from this one that's approaching you? Yeah. As it now that it seems to have found some sort of trail, it looks like it's getting a little bit faster. Again, like a dog that's picked up a scent and is now like, oh, now I know where something is. and it's starting to come towards you probably a time and a half faster, or it's moving pretty slow before it is picking up speed now. Problem, we can't have this thing follow us into town, Cassie. Yeah, I don't think I want that coming back into town. Is there a way we can get around it? Like, do you think it's gonna follow us? Is it smelling us? And as you're, I assume you're like slowly backing back down the path, and it continues to just kind of like come towards you. It's doing its little weave over the path you took. As for size of these, they're probably about like, say maybe like 2 foot tall, kind of a sphere, like a half sphere kind of thing. Like your stereotypical slime monster. So they're decent size, but they're not like huge. You'll see now that the other two have also kind of started, like at least one more has caught the scent now and is also coming down the trail. The third one is getting there. It's starting to weave back and forth on your path that you left by. Is there a creek or something we can try to cross? Assume you're asking her this. Is there a creek or something we can try to cross? Try to shake it? Cassie's like, Cassie would have advantage on this, I think. She's not relatively familiar with the area around because I think she would have still done mountaineer stuff. So say, does she know? Yeah, that was pretty good. We'll see, like, she goes, oh my gosh, yes, there's a one, like, right down that way. If we can get to the path, maybe I think it'll go away from the town, because you can see her thinking, like, I don't want to wash it into the town, but I think we'll be okay if we get to this one over here. It goes downwind. It'd be a hike back up the mountain, but I don't think it could get us. So what you want to do? Follow the direction Cassie pointed out. You're also free to book it if you want. That then? Okay. Walking, running, going slowly to see if it continues following. Walk in a circle for a while and jump out to break off the trail. Like, is that a? There's certain ants I think that do that, but slugs too. Where if you like mess with the lead slug, and they get like they just get trapped in a circle. That would be interesting. So I think we're heading towards the river. I just want to know if you're going quickly, walking, gonna pick your way carefully, or are you gonna rush? Fast enough to keep an eye out, so you're gonna be focusing on them as you're walking. Okay, Cassie starts leading you towards the creek. She kind of doubles back down the path, like this way, in one of the other like little desire paths, like not really a proper hiking trail, but still a path people have taken, obviously, before. She starts leading you down one of those. And I'm going to spend a fear. I'm going to say, because you're so focused on the ones behind you, you don't see when one appears in front of you. I will have you make an agility roll to see if you can dodge this creature that just popped out under your feet. Ooh, that is. Yeah. Let's see, that's 17 on the dice plus 1 with fear. So I get the fear back. Alright, so I will say with the fear, you managed not to step on this slime that has appeared, like, right under your feet, like it slipped out from under the bush. You do kind of sidestep, and I'm going to say that maybe you trip and you fall. As you're trying, like, you're trying to do. Have you ever had a cat or a dog, like, run in front of your feet and you have to, like, do the little dance to not step on them? That's what you do, but you kind of hit an uneven patch and you now fall and kind of tumble off the path. Cassie's gonna look and go, I think we're gonna burn Because the creature immediately turns its focus to you. This little slime that just popped out in front of you, the one right next to you. And I think Cassie's gonna see that. And we're gonna activate a feature for Cassie, which is called I Got You. She is going to mark a stress as this thing tries to jump on you now that you are on the ground. And she's gonna like yank out her sword and just like golf swing it back off the path. Aren't we getting mocked enough by Cassie at this point? She just saved you. She just knocked that bad boy like way off. Like just full on. Like I gave Cassie a longsword. I figured like a two-handed kind of weapon. Longsword made sense. Yeah, she's gonna take and just like baseball bat, golf club, swing at this little slime and just send it flying. Because it was very much prepping to jump on you. But she marked a stress to do so. So you can extend a hand and offer it. I assume you take it to get back up to your feet. Now the implication that there are more than the three that were behind you. I'm sure you did it. It went flying. It back off into the trees or wherever. Back to town, get a few packets of salt. For slimes? I think that's slugs. Thinking slugs. Times. You might, but there are definitely some following you too. If it's the same, we would not know any better. Maybe. Yeah, into the river. Try to throw them off. As a reminder, the river is going away from town. Alright, you are inside of the river, so still leading them away from town, which is not bad, yeah. And the river, because you're a little further up on the mountain, it would be going down. Rivers don't usually go up mountains. So it would easily take you away from town. That is what you so desire. Cassie's putting the hustle on now that it is apparent there is maybe a couple more of these slimes than you thought there were. Given, you can probably use your deductive reasoning, given how many of the foragers have been like, I can't find mushrooms. If that's at all related, there may be several more in this forest. Attacking creatures. And the one you saw touch the squirrel, it just kind of rolled over it. It didn't look hostile, but it did have an effect on the squirrel. Alright. Are we jumping in the river? Are you gonna try and wade across? We also need to warn the doctor since he may be growing a slime in this tube. He might be. This is a wadeable part of the river. Should we roll for it? See how deep the river is? Yeah, you can do that easily. I think it would come up to about your waist, probably. Are you gonna try and go across, or are you gonna try and, like, ride the stream? Go across, see if they try to follow. Absolutely. Hi. Wade across. I'm gonna spend a fear, and I'm gonna say some sort of, like, riptide, whatever the river that is, pops up. Jeff, you always pop in, like, towards the end of this. Alright. Spent a fear. I'm gonna say that you're gonna go through a patch of water that's particularly strong. I need a strength reaction roll from you, so this won't generate hope or fear, but consequences will happen if you fail it. 17 plus 2, that's 19. That's pretty good. Roll for Cassie. Cassie almost gets knocked over in the water, but I think maybe you two, like, grab onto each other at the last second and you kind of, like, stabilize each other. Both do successfully make it past that chunk of the water. I assume you're going to stand there and wait to see the slimes follow. You will see the slimes that originally were following you, like, after a while, they do eventually kind of catch up and they start doing the sniffing thing around the river again. And once it starts getting into the sand and stuff, they kind of, like, stop and look confused. As confused as a slime can look. but they like their demeanor is a dog who has now lost the scent, is what you're getting. You'll also notice that there are those 3 slimes, and then there are another 4 who have come crawling at like as you sit and watch, you see another like 4 start crawling out from the bush on the other side, and they're all sniffing around, kind of like the path you took, but they do not seem to be crossing the water. Dilute the slimes, yeah. It's fine, it's fine. You will see one of them just for fun. It does kind of like get a little too close to the edge, and you see it it's formed kind of like oh, what do we want to say? What's the term for people going through a black hole? Like spaghettification essentially happens to the slime as it gets kind of sucked into the water. It sort of becomes this like gloopy, gross, mucusy thing rolling downstream. But the others tend to keep away from it. So as we sit and Cassie and Dexuru start planning what they're going to do about these slimes they just found in the forest, who may or may not be related to the body that they found earlier, I think we're going to call it there because we are bumping up against time. They can't cross the water. I guess that's some benefit for today, huh? I think that's where we're going to end for today because we are kind of bumping up against time. I appreciate you guys showing up, though. I know, like I said, I need to do some thinking on when I want to stream some of these things because time to go back to town and dig a moat. I didn't say they couldn't enter the water. I did say they got kind of swished along pretty good. But yeah. Thanks for playing. I love running these. All right, take care and good night. Bye.